So in my last video talking about mascot horror, I basically talked about how it's ruining the indie game industry and the indie horror industry and the horror industry as a whole for games. And so in that video, there were two big reasons why I made it. I didn't really mention them that much, except one, which is BanBan. That was a big...
That's what she said!
reason why I made that video. But there was another reason why. It's called a tweet. I know, I don't think you've heard of it. It's kind of like a thing on this app called Twitter. But in these tweets, someone that I'm not going to mention said some things that kind of made me want to make that video, which we'll talk about later because, holy, I need more, you know, interaction and stuff because YouTube hates me. So, yeah. You're just gonna have to wait. But waiting's fun, right? Like, I like waiting. Anyways, Hello Neighbor. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah, no, hello.
It's a indie horror game, made by Tiny Build. And it got popular around the time of 2017, 2016, like late 2016, early 2017. Around the time when like FNAF was really popular and then Bendy and the Ink Machine was coming out. Basically around the time when indie horror games started using mascots. And you can argue
DLCs in there, which
that's a whole video for another time.
And the business, we call this foreshadowing.
I hate that game. But anyways, so Hello Neighbor's over there, and they released, I want to say early 2017, a beta, which this beta, alpha, whatever you want to call it, was impressive in my opinion. Basically, the whole idea was you had to get into your neighbor's house and get into his basement, see when he's hiding. Now, the art style, if you want to call it that, was kind of basic. Kind of felt like, oh, we're using the basic Unity engine tools and stuff, whatever, right? But the AI was the thing everyone was here for. You see the neighbor or whatever, his AI basically would react to something that happened in a more realistic way. Like, for example, in this trailer that for some reason is still on the Xbox store, if you, like, for example, threw a tomato at his window, he would go outside and clean it up if he saw that. Or he would go outside and water the flowers, which was really cool. And this AI was very impressive because there was nothing like it. Besides the neighbor looking a bit goofy, I guess, compared to like the realistic setting. This is very, very interesting. And like, I'm gonna be honest here. Very impressive. And so people were wondering, well, what's in the basement, right? Like, who's the neighbor? What is he hiding? There were theory videos and just praise across the board, and everyone played it. It was great. But as betas, like, I mean, sorry, but off topic, but even Bendy and the Ink Machine was like partnering with Hello Neighbor. Like, this is how popular Hello Neighbor got, and not just like on YouTube, but in the indie gaming horror industry. So basically, when betas and alphas started coming out, they slowly revealed some random story. And yeah, okay, very vague or whatever. I feel like they changed the story multiple times. Like, the story I think they were building up is way, way different from the story we ended up getting, but we'll talk about that later. And yeah, everything was cool. Like, the game looked promising. But then something changed. The art style started to match what the neighbor looked like. Kind of goofy, more, cartoonish. Kind of like an appealing to children. And the Hello Neighbor AI became a little stupider. Like the stuff you could do in like the betas and alphas and in the trailer I was talking about. Like that, you can't do that stuff no more. Like, he would barely even sleep on the couch. You'd be lucky if you even got on his bed, And it got glitchier and stuff like that. And I have my own theory on why. Like, why did the game become... Like, I feel like they stopped caring about the game, but we'll talk about it a little later. Then the final game came out. Oh boy. Besides the story, I think everything is a big mess. It's buggy. The AI is terrible. I don't really like the cartoon art style isn't scary. It's buggy. Like, it's kind of confusing. Very, weird. It's kind of a jumbled mess. Did I mention it's buggy? Yeah. But the story, which we won't really discuss here, was actually pretty good. But it was very vague, but it was really good once you figured it out. Well, not really good, but pretty good. And so I have a theory, how come the game itself is kind of bad, but the story is actually kind of good. It's a theory. It's a game theory. That's right, game theory. Game theory is the reason why Hello Neighbor sucks. Okay, I'm not blaming game theory. I'm not blaming MatPat. It's not his fault. He didn't go into the writer's room and was like, hey, make this game vague. But he kind of did when he made a theory video on it. Or 3 of them. When he made 3 theory videos on it, he kind of did that. And this is when the downward spiral began. Because I feel like Tiny Build went, okay, let's appeal to children. Because at this time, Hello Neighbor, or not Hello Neighbor, FNAF had it has a big child audience. They're selling toys and merchandise and all this. They're making bank essentially. Scott Cawthon, he's rolling in dollar bills. Editor, please remove that. That was a really bad joke. So what are we gonna do to change that? Or how can our game be memorable to children? How can we mooch off children, essentially? Well, let's give the game a cartoonish art style, and let's give it a vague story so MatPat can make a goofy-all theory about it. And that's what happened, because MatPat has a big child fan base. And so they started focusing on goofy things, like merchandise and MatPat, instead of focusing on fixing the game. The story, again, like I said, pretty good, I would say. But the game itself is broken and basic compared. How come the beta is better than the actual game? That's so annoying. I can't wrap my head around it. But then, MatPat didn't make a theory video about it. In fact, the last theory video he made about Hello Neighbor was before the game, a week before the game came out. So yeah, a long time. So then they made a game called Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek. All you need to know about this game is that it's just like Hello Neighbor, except you throw toys in a toy box. It's so weird, I don't really care. But it kind of makes the story more clear. It's just Hello Neighbor, but better or worse depending on who you talk to. It just makes the story more clear and less vague. And, well, that didn't gain any traction, really. I mean, besides the usual people. I mean, oh yeah, by the way, Hello Neighbor was very popular with the children, too. So their scheme worked. But then they released Among Us Neighbor. Or The Neighbor Among Us. No, it's called Secret Neighbor. Before, it was Among Us before Among Us. And with these games, you gotta know that if you do not balance them right, they are going to be broken. Either the neighbor's gonna be overpowerful, or the children are gonna be overpowerful. The killer or the killies are gonna be overpowered either way, and yeah, that's what happened. The children are more powerful than the neighbor. And if you have, especially if you have a lot of good, like, players who know the glitches and stuff, and who know this game is a mess, they'll abuse it and win every time. Kind of giving the neighbor a little, like, hard time. You know, I bet a guy with the username Sans looked at the neighbor and said, "Hey, do you want to have a bad time?" Apparently, the neighbor said yes, and so what am I talking about? And now their latest game is Hello Neighbor 2, which I think Microsoft is funding, but I'm not too sure. Like, for some reason, it's like on Game Pass, and there's a lot of like Xbox trailers for it, like with the little Xbox logo, like when they talk about it. So that confuses me. And they tried to do the same tactic, like release betas and like the same marketing scheme they used last time. It did not work. I mean, like some of them were interesting, but a lot of them were not. Didn't really work as well as they thought it would, so they kind of like just released it and said, "Hey, look, it's Hello Neighbor 2, guys." Like, our marketing ploys really worked, except not really. And so, I'm not even gonna talk about that. But from what I've heard, it's the same buggy problems. And well, okay, that's all fine and dandy. But what about the tweets? What about the tweets? We've been building up to this. What about this? What are the tweets? So embarrassing. It's basically Tiny Build begging MatPat to make a theory off their pilot. Like, they tried to make a freaking TV show. Holy. I'm not joking. They tried to make a TV show. And they were begging MatPat, and I mean begging him to make a theory. It is so goofy and sad, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to make the video. And so, let me tell you, like, the problem, and why I call this the original Garden of BanBan, or whatever I decide to call him the title. But the reason why is because, just like Garden of BanBan, it's a broken mess. It's kind of cringe. It has a kind of dark story, but it's kind of very ambiguous. It's basically Garden of BanBan, but before Garden of BanBan, like 2017. I think it's better than Garden of BanBan, but that's not saying much because they had an entire team making it, and Garden of BanBan had like 2 people. And so, like, honestly, I give Garden of BanBan more props because, like, it reached the level of Hello Neighbor with only 2 people. Which, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but imagine if that had a better, more filled team. It would be better than Hello Neighbor, I think. But Hello Neighbor was one of the first games that make people realize that, hey, it's kind of like this whole mascot horror thing is kind of like lazy, because people can make lazy, half-baked games just to sell merchandise or get YouTubers making little theories about, and it worked. And now we have lazy products, and now people are realizing that, hey, Hello Neighbor was actually kind of bad. Like, the alphas were great, but Hello Neighbor was bad. Like, the full release. And so, now what? What's next for Hello Neighbor? How can they come back from this? I don't think they can. There is no way. Unless Hello Neighbor 2 is somehow amazing and like glitchless and is just the best thing. But honestly, the reputation is in the mud now, thanks to like their previous actions and thanks to stuff like Garden of BanBan. And so yeah, that's really what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I was a big fan of Hello Neighbor, by the way. Like, I followed it religiously. And now I realize it was just a lazy thing to make. Like, the tweets, again, were very lazy. It's just a lazy way to get people to be like, oh, I want to buy the game. You know, it's just selling to children. It's very disappointing. I'm very disappointed. Like, so shady. But anyways, that's the end of the video. Hope y'all have a good day. Please remember to like, share, subscribe if you liked it, you know. And yeah, much love. Peace out.